Entrevistas Alfa.
Hi,
That's
I'm
good.
Christina from Alpha 91.3, and finally here, Louis Tomlinson's in the house. How are you, Louis?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Fine, thank you for asking. So, I'm just with this big smile because I gotta say that, yeah, I listened to a couple of songs of the record, and it's so good. I mean, sonically, like detail, but also like raw and beautiful sounds, different sounds, and the voice is like, wow. So, Louis,
That's quite the description. Thank you very much. Thank you.
yeah, I gotta say that because of the single, a lot of your fans and people say like, "Oh my God, that's not what I expected," but in a good way, like not following the trend. So in this record, thinking of the liveness you wanted, what came first, like the instinct or the idea of the sound and the lyrics?
I think I think that probably the instinct, because this whole record was, every single part of the process was made with the live show in mind. So those instincts kind of were at the start of the record, at the end of the record, in the middle of making it. So a massive part of making this record in general. I had an idea of what I wanted to do, and I had a much clearer picture this time. But naturally, with creating, there's an element of trial and error at first, and once you gain a bit of momentum, the picture looks a lot clearer. But that kind of helped me throughout the process, just to have one major thing that I kept coming back to, and it was about creating these exciting live moments.
I gotta say that the first song, the greatest, this raw drums. Is this a song that came first, or which one came first?
It isn't, but that was written with the intention, not necessarily to open the album, although that's what we did in the end. That was written with the intention of being a tour opener. So the first song that you hear at the live show, because it's got that kind of slaps you around the face with that drum. It's an interesting sonic, and it feels pretty anthemic as well. So that was written with the start of the live show in mind.
Well, I can imagine like this big, as I said, the drums and you going on stage and having this emotion and chills of being, in front of your audience that loves you. So, um, if you could pick any song of this new album that you think it's gonna give you like the chills when you hear it, fans singing back to you, which one would you think it would be?
That's a good question. It might. I mean, the greatest would have a would be a contender, just because that lyric was written with the fans in mind and with that relationship between us. So kind of having that connection and that moment of us both singing together will be pretty cool. Definitely. I think Saturdays is a pretty raw song emotionally. So I'm sure that could be another one at the kind of the other end of the spectrum.
Okay, so I've watched a lot of interviews, and you mention a lot of word that is confidence, and I can see that in your smile, in the way you just feel relaxed and talking. But I mean, confidence. What advice would you give to Louis from Walls to follow to you now that you're in this point?
Um, Do you know, the irony is that, there's definitely a thing that I could say to my younger self, and maybe I'd say carry on trusting your gut and be confident that you'll get where you want to get eventually. But truthfully, I had to find out those things on my own, and there wouldn't have been a piece of advice that someone gave me along the way that would have been able for me to kind of find that idea. I kind of had to go through that process myself and work that out for myself.
Okay. And also this confidence, to me as a fan, it means also like freedom. And I got this question that had you ever had to fight for a song specifically in this album? Like, so your gut may tell you this is a good song, but you had to fight and to convince people that to keep the track in the album?
Not so much on this record. I've been very lucky with my record label, and everyone that works for me. Really, I kind of made everyone aware that I wanted to do things my way on this album, and I wanted to trust my own instincts and my own gut. There was an initial conversation right at the start of what the first single should be. In my eyes, there was no doubt it was always going to be bigger than me. So, but also naturally, you find yourself having these conversations along the way. They're not necessarily debates; they're just conversations. So, not really. I was lucky enough to be kind of trusted to do what I wanted to do on this record.
Okay. And fans also like I asked them what do you want to know from Louis, and all of they say like we want to know his own interpretation of the songs, but in the interviews you said you want to respect and to prefer fans to have the surprise and freedom of giving their own meaning, right?
Mm. Yeah, because here's the thing. I mean, the two things. You know, if the first time one of the fans listens to one of the songs and it means something to them, they ask me what it means, and I tell them something different. For a start, I've ruined the dream there. But also, secondly, as a music fan, you know, when I grew up listening to songs that I loved, and obviously we didn't have, you know, social media, it wasn't as prevalent, even YouTube was just coming through. So it wasn't as if I was watching many interviews of the bands that I loved even at the time. And the point I'm making is I was free to draw my own conclusions from those lyrics. So even as a listener, that's the experience that I've had.
Like the mystery in the music, like the freedom, as you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you know, once I've finished writing it and it's out there to the world, it means whatever it means to you know to the listener, like art in general. You know, it's open to interpretation.
Okay, Louis. So I don't know if I can say the name of the song, so I'm just gonna say track number 8. To me, it was just crazy.
Wait. Let me have a look. What's track 8?
Track
I should
8,
know, but hang on.
it was a big surprise. Like
One of the track listings out, so you can. What song is it? Go on, you
track
tell.
number.
Oh, out of my system. Oh, good pick. Good pick. Nice. I love that tune.
So I can imagine myself in the crowd singing, and another tourist imminent, obviously. So go crazy, Louis. Think of a weird place you'd like to place this song. Which place would you choose? I mean, you played almost everywhere.
Oh, that do you know what? I mean, obviously, I'm hoping that I'm gonna do you know quite a few different venues, quite a few different places on this tour. In terms of location or specific country or city, I'm not so sure. But a song like "Out of My System," it'd suit a bigger gig, but it probably suits somewhere a little bit more dirty and dingy as well. Do you know, like one of those kind of slightly smaller, more intense gigs? Definitely.
I can see myself jumping and just, being in the.
Definitely. Yeah, that's one of my favorite songs on the record, actually. Definitely.
It's a great song, Louis. Congratulations on that. So, just two more questions. If you, I mean, faith in the future, talking about the future, if you could keep moments in a time capsule to live like forever, you said that an emotional show was when Freddie was there attending to the show.
Yeah.
But in this year, which other moment would you choose to have in a time capsule?
Um, there was. Let me try and think chronologically. I'd say the first show of the tour, the very first show. I've been waiting for it for 2 years in lockdown and 4 years before that because I hadn't toured since the band. So I felt like I'd been working towards that moment for such a long time. So once it finally arrived and that first moment, I start with "We Made It" and I heard the crowd singing back and I felt their energy. That was a really special moment. And then to bookmark that, probably the last show that I played in Milan, it was just such a massive gig in terms of capacity. Never did I think on my first tour I'd be playing a gig of that size. And again, I felt like that had been everything I've been working towards. And to see it at such a vast level, that was special.
I can see like the love and the big, big smile and you jumping around of happiness in that show. So thank you for that. The last question, Louis. If you could pick any artist, any band of any genre to make a cover of Bigger Than Me, who would you pick?
Ooh, um, that's a good question. Um, I always like when a cover when with a cover like Radio One Live Lounge have done great versions of these in the
Yeah.
past where they'll completely kind of reshape a song. So probably someone a little bit more indie than me. Maybe someone like a Stone who did a bit of touring with me on my tour. Something that I could a band that I could never really imagine them singing that song. It'd be interesting to hear a cover and a version of you know whatever they came up with.
Okay. Well, if they're watching this, maybe you should tell them to make a cover and we can listen to that soon. Louis, thank you for your time. We're waiting for Faith in the Future. Trust me, it's a really, really good album. It's
Thank you.
beautiful. So,
Thank you very
congratulations.
much.
Louis Tomlinson here in Alpha 91.3. Bye, Louis.
Thanks a lot for your time, love. Have a good day.
Entrevistas Alfa.